My buddy Brian on today. We're covering. Oh, if you guys don't know why we're doing this today, we got some breakthroughs. And for those of you that don't know us, my name is Ken Fahey. I host the best podcast on affordable housing investments. Brian's my partner, friend, and he is such a crucial part in us helping spread the positive information to the world about how to create more affordable housing. Most specifically, if you guys have not been following us, we've been creating these AI agents. I'm gonna try to keep it very high level because I know I can go into the weeds here. But essentially, what we're working on is, hey, we want to help more people at scale. So what we've been doing is creating an agent that essentially goes out to forums like Reddit. They'll pull into like, hey, they'll pull in all the questions related to Section 8, affordable housing, and our agent is now using, because it's been trained on all of our past podcasts, to draft the response. Now, initially when we started building this, the responses here. So for example, here's this question. I am looking at properties with existing Section 8 tenants, no prior experience buying this. What should I look out for? Very generic, right? Very broad type of question. And so our agent at that point in time just came up with like a very generic question. But now we're like, hey, how do we make it better? So what we've been able to find out was, okay, well, what do we start training it and giving it feedback and giving a structured answer so that it can learn our tonality, our approach, our commitment to providing tactical and substantial level of detail so that's actually helpful for someone that wants to make an impact with their time and energy. And lo and behold, we trained it. It works. This is so cool. Brian, tell them a little more about what you worked on, man, because this is so freaking cool, dude.
Yeah, no, it is. I'm stoked. So with our solution here, trying to keep it high level too, because I have a problem with going too technical. um, everything that Ken said is pretty much on the money. On the automation side, on the workflow, we're using N8N, and it's just simply set up to a Google Sheet. So what happens if we go into that affordable housing? Oh yeah, go there, and we click
I can go
on
into Playground.
self-learning agent. Yeah, we'll do that. So that's kind of the high level concept here is like, how do we, oh, sorry, this is not the right one.
No, that's not the right one. It's a human in a loop one.
Human loop.
Oh, no, wait. I think you need to rename Playground. Sorry. Playground's the one with all of them.
So this is our playground hall. This is where we set up a lot of the early work. Sorry, it's going to take a second. Go back to affordable housing. Where did it go? So update Supabase with Q&A. That's what it is.
There we go.
All right. So this is our most recent improvement that we've made. So our agent was good, had a ton of transcript data from Ken's podcast. That gave us nuggets of real estate wisdom, Section 8, specifically. That's what we're testing right now. But there were times when there was little nuggets of wisdom that we wanted to add to help drive the responses a little bit deeper to add more value for the questions that were being asked on Reddit. So in our Google Sheet, when a response is given from Kent to give some more of those deeper technical nuggets to enrich our database, we now have a trigger to say, okay, we're taking that new piece of information. Let's go through the process of checking if our sheet has been updated. If it has,
which we do it right here in column I, right? So I put in a response and I write the letter send, the word send, and that triggers it. Okay.
That's right. Was a real quick question for you, just sort of a side note. Was it working with a capital S? Because I was doing lowercase, but
good question. I only did capital S.
Okay. And did you were seeing executions, or you were getting responses?
Yeah, because then I went to the test one. Whoops. I went to the test re-ranker afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put in the new question right here. Boom. And that's how I tested it. I put in there and I'll try to figure out what was the response that came back.
Okay.
And in general, it was a pretty good response, if I remember correctly.
If you click on the re-ranker in the logs right there, it's the
where's the logs?
In the middle, like bottom middle. There you go. Yeah,
this one?
Yeah. So this will show the highest ranking output. So it looks like it pulled something back from the transcripts actually. So I'm not 100% sure that I got the right response.
Interesting.
So if you scroll down towards the bottom, it will say, okay, yeah, so 7.6. So it may be pulling back something. It's hard to say at the moment, but I think we need to do lowercase to actually see like the greater improvement from our responses.
Okay, I can try that later. So let me do that now.
Yeah, and I can set it up to be more less narrow if we need to, but
got it. It's still a pretty good response.
Yeah, because it should say updated once it has ran. So
I see. So maybe that's what's causing it.
Yeah. And that's just part of that if that we were looking at in that workflow.
Got it. All right, so I got that one. So now that I do that to send, I will go back to the
update
Supabase,
and then just click execute, and we should be
execute workflow. Boom.
There we go. And then now there's like what 4 or 5, right? So
yeah, like 5, correct.
So yeah, it shows 5 items. It's doing them one by one. It's going to input those into our database. So we get to see it in real time here, which is kind of cool.
Yes.
And then once that's done, we can actually inspect and see everything.
Ooh, this is so good. I love it.
So I think, oh yeah, one more item.
Okay, done. Great.
So if we open up, like, let's say, so we know what the feedback is, or we don't know exactly, but we know you gave feedback. But
correct.
Let's open that middle message a model. That's the
model.
Basically, okay. When we get to here, like we have all the feedback, we're looping through it one by one, and we're taking the Reddit post question, the title and the body, and we're basically formatting a simplified question out of the Reddit post. And so over here on the output, you can see for one of the questions, it took the title and the body, and it says, is this Section 8 multifamily syndication deal a good investment for an LP? So this is kind of a weird one because it's very specific. So if we go to the next one, maybe we'll see a different kind of more generic question. Oh, you can just type or click on the output. There's 5 of 5 items.
Got it. Okay. So
yeah, I'll go one by one. So here we go. This one seems to make sense.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Is this a legit and successful strategy? And how can I get started with it? So that's a really nice question. Like if someone asked you that, you would have some great wisdom and insight into answering that question.
Got it.
You gave feedback on a variance of that question, and now we want to take that and put that into the database. So if we
got it.
Yeah.
And let me just say it back to you, right? Just so I can say it in my own way. Essentially, whenever we get questions in Reddit, it might not be like a perfectly well-formed sentence. And for us to recall all the effort that we use to answer this question with our nuggets, our wisdom, our experience, you want to make sure that you're not just throwing that arbitrary question into the database. You're spending some time to clean it up, make sure it makes sense, which is why it took that question of, I'm assuming it's this one, hey, is Section 8 really a thing? And then turn it into this question of, hey, is Section 8 real estate investing a legitimate and successful strategy, right? Because before they said, hey, is Section 8 investing really a thing? Which is not a great question. It's slang-ish. But you put it back into this, now it says, hey, is it a legitimate successful strategy? So that's what's happening here, right? It's taking that question and making it more sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Dope.
Yeah, you said it well. So if we break out of this and go back to the canvas, we'll then get to see some of the other pieces. So we want to check to see if that question exists already. We don't want to duplicate questions. So the next node is the first Supabase vector store node. And that's just taking in our question, and it's looking for something similar. And if it finds something similar, well, that means we don't want to add it to our database. We have the question, and we have an answer with it that we've used to enhance the question in the response.
So we don't want to duplicate the question.
Exactly. And there could be an improvement where, let's say we want to add more nuggets to questions like that in the future. we could modify the workflow to, instead of discarding the question, discarding it, when it gets to a true and it finds that question in our Supabase, we could then take more answers in and kind of improve or enhance it further. But for now, since we just don't have a lot of new questions, we just want to get those in with some data that you're providing. So what you'll notice here, though, is we don't have a question. So we go 5 times through and we create a new row inside of our Supabase. So there's a little bit of stuff happening in the code nodes, but it's not really important. It's just formatting and setting up some stuff for inserting into our Supabase.
Yeah, because you made sure you were trying to chunk it out correctly, right? For this chunk size that's going into the database.
Yeah, I went with the mindset of like, okay, we'll dynamically chunk this. The problem was we don't want to separate the question up. We want it to stay in the same chunk. So I'm giving it a large chunk size and then a 0 overlap, manually just setting that here. We could dynamically chunk it. It just would pull back multiple chunks in our retrieval with our RAG. So for this type of data, we actually want to keep it as one big chunk so that we can get the question and the answer.
Got it. And just to clarify for me, it's more like, hey, if you didn't do that, and this question of like, hey, section real estate investing in real thing, and try to chunk it up by itself without us telling to keep everything together, you might get half the answer of what we would have wanted, because now it's not as substantial, it's not as helpful, it's not as detailed, when in fact we do want it to be detailed, because someone that might be posting a question on here that's really looking for a step-by-step guide, they probably want more detail than not. So that's why you kind of had that in there. I didn't want to lose that point.
Yeah.
You did a lot of work here, and it took a lot of thought, and I didn't want to just skip over that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And that actually kind of goes back to part of our thought process behind this for me and you. So one note I'll say, you're testing this on your own, trying to see which type of feedback gave the best response, like in our Google Sheets. If you added bullet points, if you added kind of like a paragraph, like personal response type feedback. Yeah. I would say with the chunking in mind and keeping the question is always going to be pretty concise, but what will make the chunk really large is if we give a large feedback response. And so that's actually that sometimes can add more characters and requires more tokens if it's too verbose. So I think it would actually be best. I only thought about this now, but the bullet points probably are the best. Like small, concise chunks of information, because once our agent or our RAG retrieves multiple chunks, it's just going to pick the best ones. So if we have one chunk that's like our question and answer chunk and it has some little nuggets, it might take that, it might re-rank and then take a few more nuggets from different chunks that exist, and then it's going to formulate the response. So the more concise we can be in our feedback in the Google Sheets, the better the response should be, in theory, when our RAG pulls data to make an answer.
Yeah, and that makes sense, because this is the time to make that investment, because if you do a good job formatting your answer in your tone, it's almost like you don't have to do it again, because chances are you probably get a repeated 80% of the questions all the time.
Okay. Yeah, totally.
Love that.
So we'll go from from what we just talked about to the final piece here. And this is where we're just loading it in. And you can see if you open up, let's click on do we have it here? Yeah, okay, this works. So the default data loader is basically just setting everything in motion to insert a new row into our Supabase. So we're setting a new type so that we can query on it. Our original type was transcript. This is human in the loop answer. So there's a difference. We want to have some clean data so we can do different types of queries in our Supabase. The other two are just text plain, very basic. And then on the right-hand side, what you can see here is the question from that AI summarization. We took that concise question and we just put it in there. And then we also gave an answer. that was the feedback from the Google Sheets. So that's Kent's
Mm.
feedback that has some really good niche kind of information that might have been missing or was lacking from our original transcripts. So now that gets inserted into the Supabase, and that can always be indexable, and we can find that to help answer
Got it.
similar questions.
See, this is so good because most people, when they ask about a deal, they like to say, "Hey, here's a deal." They throw it over the fence and say, "Hey, is it a good deal?" But they never stop to think about, and this is why I really wanted to spend the time answering this question, is you got to understand the underlying operator and the team. Because if you don't have the team that can execute upon the business plan, it doesn't matter how good your projections were. They were just numbers on a spreadsheet with certain assumptions. If you can't make those assumptions happen with a good team and you lack the execution to actually follow through, then that deal was going to go into oblivion no matter what. So these are the nuggets that I want to make sure I put them in there. And that's not necessarily something you would always see in a very generic ChatGPT response. So this is why, again, we label this as human in the loop, because I imagine in the future, these answers will probably take precedence in terms of being prioritized as a higher quality answer if the use case is truly just for questions that have been posted on Reddit, as an example.
Yeah, definitely. These are very niche, and that's kind of like what our tool is really geared around, is people with information that is specific to an industry, specific to a market, a trade, something that
Mm.
you can't, you might be able to find it if you do the right prompts, or really dig deep. But that takes a lot of energy. If you can
Oh,
just ask the question to a professional that knows the industry really well, like that's always going to be the preferred choice. And so that's really what we're trying to replicate.
yes, that's right. That's right.
Let's see. Is there anything else? I mean, that's pretty much the flow, I would say. And then, oh yeah, what we can do actually is look at the Section 8 sheet one more time. Let's see if the response field or column got updated.
Say that again. The
So
column. Oh, see if it updated. Do
yeah,
I need
let's
to
see if it
refresh?
says
Oh, yep, it worked.
it worked. There you go.
Let's go.
Yeah. So now if you do want to run another test, like
Let's do
let's
this
take one of
one.
those questions.
Let's see if I don't do a one for one. Let's see if I just copy the question without the URLs. Let's see what happens there. Go to the test. Uh,
Right.
test
Top there.
reoccur.
And I'd be really curious to see what the re-rank shows here. So it would be that bottom re-rank.
This one.
Yeah, let's see what it pulled back. So it's got that.
Podcast content.
So which question is this one most aligned with? Let's see.
Ooh, I like this. So it did respond. So this is interesting. So is it finding my blob in there? Hold on. So this is the answer I kind of gave, right? Hey, look, here's some steps. Here are the most desirable zip codes for Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And the response here brings up those zip codes, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But am I not seeing it here in the chunks? Because it brought it in here,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no way it would have done that.
So input question, answer, correct question, blank sheet prompts. Let's see. Wait, did you? I'm sorry. So one second. Query: Remote landlord, Section 8, Detroit challenges. Detroit dirt cheap. I'm seeing page content in that middle, but that shows an input. That looks like what our chunk is. Scroll down further. Um, so let's see.
Hmm.
I mean that's our chunk. Like that's one of them. So
But it's in the input.
yeah, why is it in the input? A little bit strange. Actually, maybe click the Supabase vector node. Let's see if it shows what it ran with. So that's the response and the output. Um, and then the other thought I had was let's walk through the re-ranker one by one. So
Interesting. Because this is where they brought in the zip code. So this is the output from the vector store.
yeah, this
Hmm.
is like the output exactly. It's not it's not any of it's like the final step. So if we walk through these, let's see, we'll click that one and then see. So here we go. So the first one actually got our question. And if we scroll down, we'll see the confidence score right there. So 77, that's pretty high.
So that's part of why it brought in the right answer, because it was actually up here.
Yeah, and the way I think the re-ranker works, and I could be a little bit off, but I'm pretty sure it's designed to continue to try to find pieces,
Yeah.
and then it kind of meshes together all of the pieces that it finds that are a high enough rank.
Yes.
So it does find our answer. That's probably where it's getting your response was with our new feedback. And then it's also saying like, okay, hey, there's some other chunks in here. I would like to have 4-ish chunks. So let's go back through and we'll find another high ranking chunk. So the number
Got
2
it.
grabs another top ranking. The third one grabs a third rank, so on and so
Which makes
forth.
sense because this one was asking about Detroit. So it found my podcast with Stu, which is Detroit, but it just said, hey, I'm less confident in his answer, which is why it's a 0.36. Versus this one was, hey, it was literally almost a one-to-one type of answer. So that's why you saw such a higher relevance score or confidence score there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Nate talks about this in some of his videos. For example, he
Mm,
used a re-ranker on the golf rules. And
mm,
one of the things that the re-ranker does in tandem is it uses like an internal query. So it'll be like golf, and then it'll be like golf rules, and then it'll be like golf rule 27, and it narrows down more specifically what it's looking for. So in our case,
mm.
it found an answer, but it still wanted to grab more information to add in a perfect response. Without the re-ranker, it might have just grabbed the question immediately and answered with that information. But the re-ranker, I think the way I understand it is it helps to continually validate that you're pulling in the right information. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Oh, we actually had a question from a live audience. Dexter asked, what if it answers a question on Reddit and so many responses? Can it go deeper? I think our query is only set up to pull in a new question if it's a Section 8 question. I don't think it's set up right now, at least not, to dive deeper if there's been a new updated reply to that post.
Yeah, we're not looking at replies or comments or responses or
Hmm.
anything right now. And then another thing to remember is this is human in the loop. So we're not actually creating a bot to go and just like push out a
Correct.
response. We want to make sure that the bot can do it for us, but before it goes out into the world, we're validating that it's a good thing to comment. We don't want to be just automating crap that goes out,
Yeah.
and so um, it could be conversational. You could set it up to do that. It would require a more technical workflow, but in theory, our agent has I forget the tool that you associate with it, but basically you give it like a chat memory, and so there's
Hmm.
a database in our Supabase for Section 8 conversations. So if we wanted to have a conversation about some of the same data, you could run your RAG agent to continue to pull and continue to answer. So that could be surfaced on like a website, or that could be set up in a different workflow to run on your phone or email, to where you can have a back and forth conversation. Your agent will remember the context of the previous questions if you set it up that way.
Hmm.
So
So
you
I
can
think
see
it
that you can see right in the middle. There's the memory association right there. So you just
this
set
one right
that up.
here.
Yeah.
but we haven't set it up.
I've used it before.
Mm.
It just uses a lot more tokens. It's just not necessary. So
Yeah, not right
for all
now
of our
at
stuff,
least.
we take it off. Yeah.
But in the future, it would just be like, hey, if we wanted to make sure our response is of a certain tone, etc., this is where we would input that, right?
The agent inside of its system prompt um, is kind of where you define like how it converses.
Okay.
But also like your Supabase, whatever data you have, it's gonna pick up that language too to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will say though too, I'm not perfectly clear on like mimicking tone or like feedback response like of a specific person. I think there's
Oh,
some
okay.
there's some nuance to it. I think I would
Yeah,
say. Um, so but yeah, it's something to
interesting.
consider.
No, that's good because then I can just follow without a question, see what other people have done too on their items. But I can see us again going to a point where, dude, I didn't see it sending you this one, but this guy just shows exactly how to import like just like all 95 different types of files in here. So you and I talked about, hey, what if we have like audio transcripts? He
Mhm.
just kind of shows how to quickly take not only just transcript data, but he can take Excel, PDFs, etc., to turn this into data for like a super based vector store, which is
That's
kind of
cool.
cool.
That is really cool.
So I'll
The
send this over to you so you can take a look at it later at some point. But I think for now, my goal should be to finish out all these feedback questions so we can kind of have like, hey, let's be done with section 8. Next one up is probably like low income housing tax credits or something like that. That's how I can see the next iteration of what this might look like specifically.
Yeah, I would like to do that too. Let's work on a new use case. I also I mentioned this before we started, right? Like I need to I think for my own mental sanity about like moving forward, I just need to like see this in a UI somewhere. like
Yeah,
uh
I think so too.
yeah, because I mean we could literally like we were talking about having this set up to give responses. We could have this set up and just have a bunch of conversations with our agent about Section 8 stuff and just see it in action. Um,
What's
but
good for that? Like Slack, you think? Because I've
sl-
seen examples where people have their vector store. It might be like their entire company's policies and procedures, right? But imagine someone that just joined a company and they're like, "Hey, I have some questions. How do I do this? Or what's my vacation policy?" That's like pretty straightforward, and they can just ask a Slack agent that's been trained on all of the company's policies, which is basically a vector store and a RAG agent,
yeah,
just
yeah,
coded differently.
Slack and Teams, they're pretty easy to do integrations with. We do them at
Mm,
ServiceNow with like our virtual agent.
got it.
Um, so I would say Slack and Teams, but also like even just SMS, like WhatsApp or
Mm,
even just email. Like with email, there still I think can be that memory. We set how much memory we want to allocate. So if you just want it to be like a 3 conversation back and forth, like 3 messages, you could do that.
yeah.
You can set it up to be bigger, whatever you want. But
Yeah,
yeah,
let's do
just
email. That's
yeah,
probably the most common one, I
yeah,
think.
I think so too. And we were talking about if this is for, um, maybe smaller businesses, blue collar. Like I think phone, email. If a company like a nail salon has a phone number that they're giving out, and it can receive messages, like they might be able to connect it to WhatsApp or some other messaging app, and
I
then from
bet
there,
WhatsApp would be the ideal thing. It's either
yeah,
email or WhatsApp because WhatsApp you can kind of just port it to any sort of, especially if people are just texting like, "Hey, I'm just trying to set up an appointment." Great. Like, "Hey, will this work for me? I've had blah blah blah. I have this skin condition. Will work for me." Boom. Text that number. You're like, "Yes, it will work." Boom. Would you like to set an appointment?
yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's great. Yeah, WhatsApp, yeah, Telegram. Um, yeah, I'll do it with email, and then we could just work with WhatsApp
Yeah.
next, and just see how that goes. It's just nice to have the tools ready and set up to where like, hey, like we get asked a question like, well, how would I use it? But like, hey, well, we have some, templated
Yes.
integrations. Like this is what it looks like. So
Yeah. And if you use email and phone, that's like 90% of it anyways,
Yeah.
honestly, especially if it's customer facing, right? All right,
Totally.
so that's cool. I like that next step. So I'll finish out this sheet with my feedback, structured data. You can figure out like, hey, how do I hook up the email part next to it? But I also
Mhm.
share with you like how this guy is, uh, how this guy. I'll send this video to you. How this guy's just using import for everything. Because then now, all of a sudden, in the future, if we help somebody else do it, it's like, hey, who cares? It's a PDF. Like you can
Yeah.
still create it. And this guy, where we learn about human in the loop, he had a really interesting way to evaluate all the NA engines because he's like, hey, it's not practical to keep testing like one question by one question, just like how we did it earlier. So he came out with a video that teaches you how to kind of test it at scale. So I thought that was really cool too. So I
Was
think
that?
those
Oh
two good
yeah.
videos would be good for you to kind of check out. I'll
Yeah.
send them
Sorry,
over
I
to
didn't
you.
mean to cut you off. That was the evaluation part that you're showing me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to get to that. Yes. You already sent that to me on text, so I'm
Oh, it
good
did? Okay,
there.
sorry. I
No, no,
forgot.
no, no, no. You're good. If you have the other video, I think the like
The
multi-format.
import.
Yeah,
Yeah, let me send this one
that
over
would
to
be
you.
cool. Um,
Boom.
yeah, I'll take a look at these. Yeah, my week was crazy. I had a 12-hour day on Monday, so I was like,
Oh my
I've
goodness.
got no energy to do anything. But
All right, let me
it's
stop the
fine now.
recording for one sec. Thanks everyone for joining. I appreciate it.